That night, the moon hung high above Ironreach City, its silver light washing over the ancient tiled roofs of the Liu clan estate. In the center of the ancestral courtyard, a young man in white stood still as drifting wind. Facing him was the #1 genius of the Liu clan, Lu Jingfeng, unleashing the clan's supreme legacy art, heaven vast righteous chi art. Energy surged like a raging tide. The air trembled. Righteous chi condensed into a massive celestial seal that descended like divine judgment itself. Every elder present was certain the young man would be crushed, but he merely raised his hand. One punch. No dazzling technique. No overwhelming aura. Fist met seal. The righteous chi shattered like a collapsing tide. The massive imprint exploded mid-air. Lu Jingfeng was blasted backward, his protective true chi splintering apart as blood spilled from the corner of his lips. Silence engulfed the ancestral court. At that moment, space behind the ancestral hall rippled. An old man with silver hair stepped forward, his presence as deep and unfathomable as an abyss. Patriarch Lu, the spiritual pillar of Ironreach. You dare belittle the martial legacy of the Liu clan? The young man smiled faintly. I merely wish to see whether it deserves to be remembered across the continent. The two figures shot into the sky. 2 exchanges. Clouds scattered. The moon dimmed. The earth cracked. When the light faded, Patriarch Lu descended slowly, his gaze complicated as he looked at the youth in white. In 3 years, I will no longer be your match. His name? Qin Mohan. That night a legend was born. After the moonlit night that shook Ironreach, the name Qin Mohan swept across the continent like a raging storm. Yet amid the whispers of awe and fear, a shocking scene unfolded within the Liu clan's ancestral courtyard. A 12-year-old boy knelt upon the cold stone floor. He was Lu Tianye, son of the late clan head, a youth judged to possess only mediocre talent, unworthy of reaching the higher realms of the heaven-vast righteous chi art. Senior, please accept me as your disciple. His voice was hoarse, but his eyes burned with unyielding fire. The entire clan erupted in outrage. An elder roared. You bear the blood of the Liu clan. How can you bow to an outsider as your master? This is humiliation. Tianye did not lift his head. His forehead struck the ground again and again until blood seeped from broken skin. Qin Mohan studied him in silence. He saw no extraordinary talent. He saw something else. Patriarch Lu remained quiet for a long moment, before speaking slowly. If you wish to follow him, you must pass through the domain of certain death. Fail, and you die. For 30 years, no one had walked out of that place alive. Tianye did not hesitate. That night, beneath the same moon that had witnessed the birth of a legend, another seed was planted. One that would have to grow through blood and the brink of death. Lu Tianye stepped into the domain of certain death that very night. And 3 months later, just as everyone had accepted that he was dead, the stone gates opened once more. Tianye walked out, his body, drenched in blood, one eye nearly blind. But his aura had completely transformed. Qin Mohan said nothing. He simply turned and walked away. Tianye understood. He had been accepted. 3 years passed. Under guidance as harsh as steel tempered in flame, Tianye was reforged. Qin Mohan did not merely teach him sword techniques, he imparted sword intent. He taught him a truth. A sword's strength does not lie in spiritual power, but in the one who wields it. Just as Tianye stepped into the threshold of the early martial emperor realm, calamity struck. While investigating disturbances in the ancient northern ley lines, Qin Mohan was ambushed. The force behind it, mysterious Yin Palace, a supreme sect that had hidden in the shadows for years. The battle raged for 3 days and 3 nights. By the time Tianye arrived, nothing remained but a shattered field of ice and a broken sword planted in the snow. Sword deity Qin Mohan had fallen. From that day on, the continent lost a legend, and Tianye lost the only person who had ever truly believed in him. Thus began his path of vengeance. Walked in solitude. 10 years after the broken sword stood frozen in the snow, the continent had come to believe that the sword deity was nothing more than legend. In South Flame City, a young man named Yun Chengli quietly emerged. No one knew that within that body resided the reincarnated soul of Qin Mohan. His cultivation had only just reached the martial sect realm, a world apart from the peak he once stood upon. At the same time, Lu Tianye had grown into a young martial emperor. During his relentless pursuit of the mysterious Yin Palace, he was ambushed and struck by profound Yin Frost Chi, a wound that lingered for years. To suppress it, he was forced to enter the ancient Flame Star Mine, a place that sealed an archaic evil spirit. That single misstep allowed the evil spirit to invade his sea of consciousness. When Yun Changli found Tianye, he was half-conscious, teetering between clarity and madness. With no other choice, Yun unleashed the sword intent of his former life, to suppress the corrupting force. The moment that familiar sword form manifested, Tianye trembled and dropped to his knees. Master, that was the turning point. Yun Changli realized the truth: his death years ago had not been a mere ambush. The mysterious Yin Palace had been expanding in secret, manipulating other sects from the shadows. The continent was already being divided in darkness. This was no longer a personal vendetta between master-disciple and a single sect. If he revealed himself, war would erupt. But if he remained hidden, his disciple would die a second time. Determined to leave South Flame City and avoid the watchful eyes of the mysterious Yin Palace, Yun Changli and Lu Tianyi stepped into the local merchant guild's grand teleportation array. The plan was simple: reach Windcrest City and quietly gather the former allies of the sword deity. But the moment the formation activated, the sky darkened without warning. A figure descended into the center of the plaza, imperial pressure crashing outward like a tidal wave. It was Han Shatian's sect, master of the Northern Star Sect, a power closely tied to the mysterious Yin Palace. Yun Changli, he said coldly. You killed my elder, seized the Thunder God Codex, and think you can simply leave. Space itself was sealed. The formation froze. Tianyi stepped forward, killing intent erupting from him. But the profound Yin Frost Chi within his body seized the opportunity to backlash. The evil spirit in his sea of consciousness began to stir violently. His face drained of color. His aura spiraled into chaos. Yun Changli understood at once. If Tianyi made a move now, he would completely lose control. As for himself, his cultivation had yet to recover. If he revealed his true sword intent, his identity would be exposed beyond doubt. Before them stood a peak martial emperor. Behind him, a disciple teetering on the brink of collapse. Fight and ignite a continental war, or endure and bow his head. For the first time since his reincarnation, Yun Changli was cornered with no path of retreat. Han Shatian gave them no more time. His imperial pressure condensed into falling starlight, crashing down like meteors, and forcing the plaza to sink half a meter into the ground. Space was completely sealed. Even spiritual energy grew heavy as lead. Tianyi roared and forcibly circulated his true essence. He slashed out with his sword. But before the blade could even reach its target, the profound Yin Frost Chi within his meridians erupted. His breathing fell into chaos. His pupils slowly turned a deathly gray. The evil spirit in his sea of consciousness seized the opening, its eerie whispers echoing through his mind. Han Shatian sneered and struck down with a single palm. Tianyi was blasted away, blood splattering across the stone floor. Yun Changli rushed forward and caught him. In that instant he could clearly feel his disciple's life force slipping away. If this continued, Tianyi would either die, or become a complete vessel for the evil spirit. This time, I can't protect you either, Tianyi murmured weakly. Those words pierced Yun like a blade, dragging him back to the memory from 10 years ago, the broken sword standing in endless snow. Yun Changli's hands tightened. He could release the sword soul sealed within his own spirit, but doing so would be a public declaration to the world. The sword deity had returned, and the mysterious Yin Palace would not allow him to live another month. Before him lay his dying disciple. Behind him loomed a continent on the brink of upheaval. If he chose wrong this time, he would lose everything. Again, amid the fractured plaza, Yun Changli closed his eyes for the span of a single breath. 10 years ago he had fallen because he trusted too much in his own talent. His sword had been peerless, but his heart had been alone. He fought alone, and he died alone. This time, he was not alone. He placed a hand on Tianyi's forehead. Instead of unleashing the full force of his former sword intent, he whispered softly, the sword was not born for vengeance. It was born to protect. Within his sea of consciousness, the Undying Sword Soul trembled. It did not erupt with overwhelming force. It did not proclaim heavenly might. It flowed outward like a current of warm water, first suppressing the evil spirit, then sealing the profound Yin Frost Chi within Tianyi's body. Han Shatian sensed an ancient power stirring awake. Before he could fully react, Yun Changli stepped forward. One sword. No heaven-shaking technique. Just a simple straight line. The sword chi tore through the spatial seal as easily as silk. Imperial pressure split cleanly in two. Han Shatian staggered back 3 steps, shock flashing in his eyes. You? Who are you? Yun Changli did not answer. He sheathed his sword, gaze calm. Tell the mysterious Yin Palace, some things you believe buried are merely waiting for the day they return. The lesson he had learned was no longer pride. It was knowing when to remain hidden, when to step forward, and for whom he chose to draw his sword. Han Shatian did not dare to pursue. That single stroke had carried no killing intent, yet it held something that sent a chill down his spine. The sword intent had transcended the limits of cultivation. It was not the power of an ordinary martial sect. The news spread swiftly. Someone shattered the imperial pressure of the Northern Star Sect with one sword. That sword intent. It resembles the legend from 10 years ago. In the shadows, the mysterious Yin Palace began mobilizing its spies. On the road leaving South Flame City, Tianyi regained consciousness. The profound Yin Frost Chi had been temporarily sealed, the evil spirit completely suppressed. When he looked at Yun Changli, his gaze no longer held mere reverence, but understanding. Master, you're no longer fighting alone. Yun Changli smiled faintly. This time we're playing a much larger game. Ahead lay Windcrest City, a gathering place of neutral powers. If he wished to shift the balance of the continent, he would need allies' leverage and timing. On a mountain peak outside the city, Yun Chongli stood beneath the night wind. His robes fluttered as his gaze turned north toward the seat of the mysterious Yin Palace. Within his soul, the sword spirit trembled softly. 10 years ago, a legend had ended in the cold snow. 10 years later, it did not return for vengeance. It returned to reshape the entire board beneath heaven.